It is 4 o'clock, so I will call the regular April Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. And we normally begin with public comment, but no one has signed up for public comment. So we will move ahead to the consent calendar. Is there a motion regarding the consent calendar?
I will approve the consent calendar.
I second it, but I do have a question on it, of the financial reports.
Yeah.
I just wonder, is the $10,000 that we paid to CIN an annual?
That sounds like it's an overdrive
That's
for
what it was.
ebooks, audiobooks. So once a quarter, we
Once
pay
a quarter.
10,000. That's our contribution to the collection,
Okay.
the ebook, audiobook collection.
And I said,
Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
All those opposed to approving the consent calendar? The motion carries. Let's move to Michael's director's report.
All right, so a few things to share this time. The first one is that Charlie, Holly, and I have been working with Architects West regarding the cabin that we're going to introduce to the children's area. So it'll be right in the middle of the space. It'll be a really nice feature. And I'm glad to report that Architects West have put together a really cool design, a really unique design that really reflects all of our needs and wants for the cabin. So we've been working with several of their architects. I don't have any pictures or designs to show you yet. It's still being workshopped a little bit, but basically it's about 9 feet wide. It's about 16 feet long. It's got entrances at both ends. There's also potentially going to be a side entrance. It's big enough to accommodate families, so parents and kids can walk on through, and also for us to decorate and position tables and activities with it. It's also got skylights, so it'll get some natural light in. Also, it's an ability for us to see what's going on inside the space. It's like a shell, really, but it's a really, really nice design so far. The good news is Architects West be very generous with their time. They're going to give us the design for free. They're also recommending a builder who can fabricate the design and potentially come on site and construct it. So things are looking good for it coming under the $25,000 that Knudsen Chevrolet gave to us. Anything from you?
No, I think you covered it really well. It's going in a really, really positive direction, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a real asset to the whole community.
All right, so that's the cabin. And then another project related to the children's space again was introducing something visual outside the lower level entrance to the park that indicated the presence of the children's library. You know, the lower level entrance being directly next to the children's library. So we were working with a donor, Paul Fleschner, and we did a call for artists, trying to see who was out there who could respond to this. Paul had given us $10,000. Unfortunately, we went through the process. We did find an artist. It didn't quite work out. So we're back to the drawing board a little bit on that one. We're going to meet with the donor on Friday just to catch up, see where we're at. Probably the best way to run it moving forward. We tried it on our own, but probably a better method would be to run it through the Arts Commission. Just given that it is an artistic feature and they have a process in place. So that's probably the next step where we're going with that one. Another quick thing, just it was a couple of years ago now, the Idaho Commission for Libraries offered a reimbursement for our mobile hotspots that we pay a monthly subscription to. It's about $1,000 a month, generally speaking. So they have leftover funds from other projects and they're offering a reimbursement for what we spent on hotspots during, what is it, April 1st, oh, sorry, July 1st, 2022 to April 14th, 2023, which represents about $9,000 roughly. So we have applied for that. We got it last time, so fingers crossed we get it again this time. Nice opportunity for us.
Are they continuing to be checked out most of the time?
Yeah, they're always checked out. There's always a wait list. Luckily, between us and the other libraries in the system, it's a pretty quick turnover. Even though it's a long list, there's a lot of items, so it's about a week or two turnover rate. And then just the last thing, we had Bernadette, she resigned, and we were advertising her full-time reference clerk position. We have filled it internally. We had a number of applicants, but we've offered it to Olivia Cretella, who is a part-time circulation clerk. And yeah, we're really excited to see the direction she goes with the role. Its transition was helping the outreach team for a little while, but now it's more focused on adult programming. Bernadette put together some really good programs, really diverse, different stuff for different age groups. Learning, educational, bit of fun as well. So hopefully the blueprint has been set for Olivia to walk in and carry it on. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Would our student representative like to report anything?
What's happened at the high school?
April's like standardized testing month pretty much. So we've been doing like ISATs and SATs and stuff. We have an AP test for the next 2 weeks. School play is this past week and this week. They're doing Frozen this year. So
I read it.
Yeah.
and I think that's about it though. But I don't know if I have anything particular as pertaining to this.
Thank you. I know Holly isn't here, but is there a report from Friends of the Library?
Yes, Friends met this morning, actually. They lined up with this meeting as well. So they've been busy. They, of course, supported Shred Day on April 1st. Had about 120 people stop by with documents to shred out in the parking lot. So great support for that event. They helped with refreshments we had Julie Weston. She's an Idaho author. She stopped by last week, Thursday, and the Friends helped us out with that one, providing refreshments. And then there was something else they did recently that's escaping my mind. I have to think about it. Oh, right. I remember. This pertains to you too. So in the story room, we have the mural by the Dodgers that was showing a little bit of wear and tear. Also, Charlie took out a shelving unit that left a gap. So we had to, we reached out to the Dodgers to come in and fill the space, upkeep the mural, fix it up where it needed it. And the Friends did pay for that
Great.
project. So very generous again.
I guess I was mistaken. Holly's the foundation, not the Friends. So is there a foundation report?
The only thing Holly shared was the author event tomorrow, Mark Cameron, their fundraising event. Just a reminder about that. Doors open at 6:30. It kicks off maybe 7 o'clock. Tickets are $25. You can buy them online. You can also buy them at the door. So just a reminder about that.
Thank you. And we'll move to unfinished business. And under that, we have the Idaho Commission for Libraries Facilities Grant.
Right. So the first thing to say is they got their funding. So the grant will be happening. They have already indicated to those who applied in the first round their interest that it's ready to go. The application is up. So we were communicated to that once we're ready to apply, I think we have until mid-June It's a pretty long application. A lot of detail has to go into it. Given that the maximum amount for this grant could be up to $500,000, the projects that we are proposing are about $425,000. So it's going to be really competitive. It's open to all Idaho libraries. So we'll see how we go. But so I'm working on that with Angela, the team librarian, since a lot of it involves the team space and reworking that. Of course, also the HVAC systems included in that. A number of other projects around the building that fit the parameters of the grant, but also enhance the library space. So we've got to get going on doing that application and submitting that.
And will that be an all or nothing with the proposal, or can
Not
they?
necessarily. So that's a good thing. They can approve parts of the proposal and reject others. So yeah, it's not like they're going to be judging it as a whole. They can take out certain parts.
Moving on to new business, our action item for the day is the fiscal year 2023-24 budget proposal. So I will entertain a motion regarding that.
I move we accept the budget as presented.
Second.
And now discussion.
All right, I'll walk you through it. So first section we've got the revenues. Now, a reminder that a lot of these are pre-populated by city finance, particularly the property tax, beginning cash and interest. So the first one and then the last two, and they're changeable. It kind of depends how things are going, but city finance take care of that. What I input are the state grants, the printing and photocopying, non-resident fees, sale of books, and other revenue. You will note that none of these are changed from this year, simply because we're on target to meet all of those totals this fiscal year. And I imagine that we'll probably be on target to meet.
No inflationary increases.
Well, these are revenues. So
Well, I know that. Oh, never mind. I should say that later. I'm misspoke.
That's quite a reduction in health insurance.
oh yeah, coming down to expenses.
Oh.
That's another one too that the city pre-populates, and honestly, I don't touch that one.
Okay.
It depends on our and not just ours, but the city's policy and the annual rate that's charged. So it can vary, but it's something that city finance takes care of.
It's really a big drop.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
it's a big
surprised
one.
by
That's
it as
what I
well.
I know, yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, who knows? That one, yes, I would say will be adjusted as time goes on.
No, they don't self-insure.
We do self-insure. Yeah, so a lot of the payroll expenses are preset. They're based on what employees are earning right now with their cost of living allowance. So expenses coming down to services and supplies, those are the ones I do input. And again, they're largely the same because we're on budget in each of these categories. I think we're doing pretty well overall. The one change you'll note is that promotional supplies, I've reduced that to 1,000, and then I've increased photocopy and maintenance and supplies to 6,000, mainly because we are chewing through our photocopying supplies pretty prevalently, and that's mostly because we are printing promotional supplies for the library. So all the posters that we put up around the place, newsletter, welcome packets, all that starts to chew into our photocopying budget. So while it's moving category, it's going towards its purpose. And then for books, we're at 190,000 these days. That's our book budget. And I think that's suitable for now. We'll attempt to keep that the same moving forward. And one thing I did skip under payroll expenses, you'll note under part-time, so it's wages. Wages covers the full-time staff. And then there's part-time, that covers the part-time staff. I have increased that to cater for a new part-time reference clerk. who will be stationed in the children's library. As you probably noted, Charlie's programming is really taking off, seeing really good numbers. So we want to both support that and also maybe expand our capacity to offer more. I think the position has been needed for a long time now. So fingers crossed, I'm going to propose it for this year as a part-time role.
That's great. What about, looks like there's an increase in, oh no, I'm sorry, computer maintenance, I guess is it's the same.
It's the same as it is this year. We adjusted that because, and this predates me, but there was a year or two there where we bought a whole bunch of new computers, public
Yeah, right,
computers for the public floor. So what we found is that we did that one-time purchase, but now we need to maintain them, and they need to be replaced every 2 or 3 years on kind of a cycle, rotational cycle. So Christopher and I sat down and put together a replacement cycle for all of our public computers and tools and equipment. So we had to increase that line just to cater for that sustainably.
What do you do with the replaced computers?
So the ones that are surplus. So we do surplus them, we offer them to other city departments. If there's no takers, we simply e-cycle them. So any questions?
Very impressive that you could do that within the same cost of living.
Yeah.
Impressed.
Right, and it's a work in progress. These numbers are likely to change, particularly the income, the revenue, sorry, and some of the.
Well, you can't really know what that's
Yeah.
gonna.
Right, and some of the payroll expenses potentially.
And utilities.
Well, they project that by Vista gives a hint.
Yeah, this year we're on, I think last year we spent about $75,000 on utilities, and we're on track for that this year. It's been relatively stable. So the 80,000 in the utilities budget should get us there, barring any major increases.
Could you explain the beginning cash issue? I think probably
I don't
asked
really
that
understand
every-
that much
Oh.
myself, but
I thought that was the answer last year.
so beginning cash, as you know, I mean, we're pretty fiscally responsible, and every year we do tend to have an overflow or, leftover budget. And so the city takes this into account every time we put together next year's budget, that the money that we saved is contributed to the next year. And we're pretty consistently, most years we've got about at least 100,000 left over. So I guess the city's factoring that into the budget for next year.
So we don't lose it.
Right, yeah.
But it doesn't accumulate.
It does.
It does.
It
You're
goes
gonna have
into
to talk
the-
to the
Yeah, it
city
talks
finance
to-
department about that one.
Yeah, Troy's explained it to me a few times, and it goes into a special record. So it remains ours and isn't mixed with other departments be getting cash. But it's invested. It's not just sitting there like it's in a box. Cash, even though it says cash. And so it looks like a lot of money, but it's carryover, carryover, carryover. And so you add a little bit, there's a big jump from 2021 to 2022, $50,000. That's not typical. It only went up $5,000 from last year. So there was probably a very significant reason that, oh, I bet I know it. Huh? Personnel. I bet that when we didn't have a director for a while, that made our
Right.
amount of revenue package bigger for carryover, because
That probably is.
when did you start, Michael?
Around that time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a few months away.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the way it works, and it's just carried forward. It doesn't go to any other part of the city. And then if we had some major problem, we have some backup.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we say, all of these are high-end estimates. So every year we do tend to have savings, even if we're really trying hard to spend out categories or have something we really want to purchase or have a need, we do so. I mean, we tend to always have leftover funds.
How did our interest jump so?
Yeah, that's another one city finance takes care of. I'm not quite sure.
That's
That's a
a-
pretty
It's a
significant
good
jump.
problem to
I
have.
want to know about that investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get in on it.
And
I don't have anything.
can you remind us of if we approve the budget today, what the next steps are, and the
Right, of course.
timeline on
So
that?
it's not a done deal, of
Right.
course. It's, so the next step is I meet with city finance, so Troy, Timerson, Bonnie, Jensen, and Stephanie, the city accountants, and we kind of look at the budget, look at what our wants and needs are for the year, and kind of hash it out. And then the next step is to go to city council. So there's usually at least one workshop, potentially more. So city council gets to see it along with all the other city departments, and we take it from there, see how it goes. And then they typically approve the next fiscal year budget at their first meeting in September, city council's first meeting in September. So it's a long, long road.
Glad to be out ahead of it here. So are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of presenting the budget proposal as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. The budget proposal is approved. Our next item under new business is not an action item, so won't require a motion, but meeting packets.
Right, so formally, when we were posting the meeting information for the public, it was simply the agenda. And then once minutes were approved by you, those were then posted to the website. Moving forward, let's maybe consider, and you've expressed interest in that, putting together a kind of packet, like a lot of the other city departments, they put together a packet for the public. So it not only includes the agenda as the first page, it also includes the minutes from the previous meeting, director's report, and then any major documents or policies or supporting information pertinent to the meeting, particularly when you're voting. So here's an example of what I'm proposing moving forward. So we've got, this is the packet that we will again, post to the website, put on the bulletin board outside the community room, at least 5 days before the meeting. So we've got the agenda, we've got the meeting minutes from the last meeting in March, director's report, and then I included the budget information. So we'll have that all up front ahead of the meeting for the public to view.
So would you have any policy proposals?
Yeah, if we were looking at a policy, I would also include that. Yeah. Any major piece of information that supports what's happening.
The meeting.
Particularly action items.
Yes, particularly action items, but it doesn't necessarily
I think
have to
it's
be
an
limited to
excellent
that.
idea.
Yes.
So we can't have an action, we can't,
Well, do you need to vote on this? I mean, the other city departments just do it as routine.
okay. Well, I think it's a wonderful idea. We want the public to have correct information. And this gives them our printed content without interpretation or anything, just here is what it is. I think that's the best way we can communicate.
Now, what do we do about the fact that the minutes have not been adopted yet or still a draft? Are you going to do it with the draft symbol over it?
Oh, good point.
That'll have to be
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, I would do that. Didn't do it this time in this example, but moving forward, I put the draft.
I think I assumed for a long time that this was happening. That we
Yeah,
did it anyway. It was a surprise to me. Not recently, but when I discovered this years ago, I guess we talked about it. I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I didn't realize until we were talking about the code of ethics that, that the public was not seeing the
That's
same
right.
information
Yeah.
that we were. So
Of
I,
course, it was
I
all-
appreciate this.
yeah, it was all open. I mean, open records law. It was all open to the public, but it wasn't necessarily posted.
Right, because people can go online and see the policies and the code of ethics. It's not like they're not available for the public to see and have. They've always been, you could go on and find them and read them, right?
Prior to
For-
approval. That they
No.
would be there prior to approval.
Oh,
this
I
way.
see. Any changes would be in the packet, in this packet business, but the already approved things, people can go online and find. Yeah,
That's great.
we're trying to keep the public well informed.
I don't know if it's too much or whatever, but I'm impressed with the staff reports. How much everyone does.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's appropriate to have on there, not that it's hiding anything, but might be just too much.
I think,
But-
I mean, given
they
that
are-
the staff reports, what, like 14 pages?
They do, they
Yeah.
do. I know, that's what I say, but I mean, the quality of work our staff is doing.
Excuse me, it might not be, I don't know, Michael, this is your venue, not ours. But it might be kind of a nice thing every month to just put in one staff report, just to say, we highlight a different staff person's report to the public each month, just to give an idea of what happens in the library. That wouldn't be so much space
Sure.
in the digital record or printed, but it's good for the public to see how much our staff does. They work hard.
Yeah, I can look at that.
I have a question, going backwards a little bit on the staff report on Christopher's report regarding the kiosk. And he said it's we're gonna migrate it from PowerPoint format to, and then he says the pages from the website. So
Oh, I see.
do you know what format, what is he referring to, how that would be formatted?
Okay, so the kiosk is the one over there that highlights all the families who donated and they're on the Heritage Wall. So the problem is the PowerPoint document, because of all the photos and text and it's huge and it's not functioning terribly well. It's just too big. So the idea, bear in mind, this is Christopher's idea. I'm not quite sure how he's doing it. He's going to transition from just a PowerPoint document to actually having the website be the host for that information, because the website has a lot more, can store a lot more information. So to be a smoother experience, less clunky, because sometimes that PowerPoint really does, it freezes and it stops and has to be restarted. So all that information will be on the website. So it will not only be a better system for it, it'll also be more accessible.
I think that's
Okay, so
wonderful.
you're gonna access that information from the website or the
Yeah.
kiosk.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay, that makes sense. That's great.
So I believe we've exhausted our discussion on the meeting packets. Is there any other new business to come before the board?
I'm going to ask a question about.
Hey, would you use a microphone? It's very hard to hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You know, I sound loud to myself, but people keep asking me to speak up. Okay, can you hear?
Can you hear her now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you should always go like this if you can't hear one of us, because we do want you to hear us. That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
You said that we're going to go from using Zoom to Microsoft Teams for any teleconferencing that we have to use for board meetings.
Yes.
Does this mean any difference in how re-access it? Do I have to download something to my computer in order to do this?
Well, we're going to experiment with it next time, but in theory, it should. So the reason, right now we use Zoom. So if you cannot make the meeting, but you want to attend virtually, we use Zoom. And I'm recording right now using Zoom. So you also use it to record the meetings. The city wants to move away from Zoom, so cancel all the subscriptions and move solely to Microsoft Teams, which is what we use already internally for communication. So it's a one-stop shop for that. In theory, it functions very similarly to Zoom. It's not too different. We'll find out next month. But I should be able to record the
May
meeting,
crash.
and it's like Zoom in that you don't need to download any programs. You can use it through your web browser.
Okay.
So you just need to click the meeting link and go on through, and it should open up on your browser like Zoom would.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
We'll see
Yeah,
if
we'll
I
see
end up
next
doing
month.
it. Maybe I'll have to book a library.
We can help.
And is there one more question?
Yes.
Under new business, with all this computer maintenance, is there, I bring this up every year.
You want
I know where this is
We're gonna
going.
hear there's
Apple
Apple
products are-
computers. And we have no Apple computers in the library, just bringing it
I
up.
have an old one at home. I'd love to donate.
Uh, It's a replacement program, so
Yeah.
we're using the latest model. I'll pass it on to Christopher again. I've explained before, it's just so hard for him to maintain Windows products and then also iOS products.
I know, but he's so
It's a lot.
smart.
I know, he would like to, but it just puts a lot more on his plate. He has to double everything, basically.
The city used Microsoft and
Yeah, we use Windows, the city
Yeah, the
uses
Windows.
Windows, and therefore we do too.
Okay, put in my 2 cents.
Okay.
Once
Pass
a
it
year, we'll
Once
know
a year.
that in April. You tried again.
If there's nothing further from the board members, our next regular scheduled meeting is May 24th, 2023, 4 PM in this location again.
I move for your turn.
Okay.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned.
Yay. Maybe a record.
Yeah. 32 minutes. Yeah, that's good.